What's up everybody? As you know from my last video, I do have bipolar disorder. So today I'm going to be doing a quick little story time about the first time I was put into the psych ward and how that went for me. So basically this all started when my girlfriend started noticing things that I was saying to her and they didn't add up with reality, such as my family being out to get me specifically. And basically this progressed over the course of a few weeks. So it got to the point where my girlfriend was calling in sick to work just to make sure that I was okay. And I ended up trying to actually run away. So I took my dog and I took a long route down the street. I took a very long road. And then it was summertime at the time, so I realized my dog was very thirsty and needed water. And therefore I had to call my girlfriend to come pick us up, even though I did think she was out to get me. So then one day my girlfriend was like, you know what, I can't do this, because I was still trying to run away. So she actually messaged my dad and he did call for help. They actually brought over a couple police officers to my house, as well as a peer support type of guy from something we call Coast here in Ontario, which is a mental health aid service. So getting put into the psych ward originally felt like a big relief to me because I felt safe not being in the city at the time. But I very quickly realized it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. So essentially I got there and I was pretty confused, as all the nurses and healthcare workers were behind a glass window and they would actually ignore me for most of the time. Anytime I would try to ask them a question and that kind of thing, I would be completely ignored. There was actually times where they would point at me, laugh at me, and of course ignore me very often, which I was not expecting because I was expecting those people to be there to help me. Basically, it wasn't what I thought all in all, but it did end up working out for the best in the end. So getting to the psych ward, I was in a lockdown area to start off, at least for the first few weeks. I was in there with someone who had mental development issues and seemed like a very good person, so I did feel for him as well, especially because he wasn't able to advocate for himself as I was, so I tried to help him as much as I could. So I actually realized being in the psych ward felt like what I would imagine prison would be like. I'm sure not as bad, but I did feel like I was treated like a prisoner most of the time. So I was only given food at certain times of the day. I wasn't able to really get the help of the nurses as I thought I would be able to, because they didn't really seem to care too much about us in there. I was on surveillance cameras at all times other than being in the washroom. So even in my room, which was like a lockdown room with just a mattress on the floor, I was fully under surveillance at all times. There are a lot of things that I'm gonna tell you guys about the psych ward, so I feel like I'm gonna break it up into a few different videos. Today I just wanted to kind of explain what it is like going in there, and I promise you I have a lot of great stories and also some funny stories as well from the psych ward. But basically I realized that it wasn't what I thought, and I was actually ended up being there for about 3 weeks, so I kind of learned the ropes as I went on. I did have a lot of issues with the staff. For example, one time I went in the shower assuming that there would be towels on all the shelves in there, and there was no towel, so I actually called out for help a few times and it turned out that nobody was listening to me. So I went out there completely head to toe, nothing on, and I went and told them that I needed a towel, and they did end up bringing me a towel. It was very difficult, as originally I was also assuming that we would be able to pick our meals, and it didn't seem to work that way. So basically a few times a day, since I was in this lockdown area, they would just bring me food, and half the time it was not something that looked very appealing to me and I didn't eat it. But sometimes we would get some decent food options in there. So yeah, these first 2 weeks, I believe, maybe even a little past that, I was completely in the lockdown zone of the psych ward. So I really had to learn how to basically integrate with everyone else and get put into the area where I had more freedom, which I eventually did near the end. But all in all, even though the psych ward wasn't what I expected, it did actually end up giving me my proper diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder, and I was actually finally put on the proper medication, and I'm now living quite well in terms of my mental health. My head is very clear and I don't usually have very many episodes anymore. So even though I had this negative experience at the psych ward, don't let it stop you from getting help if you do need help, because probably most likely they're not all the same. This was just my specific case. So definitely don't hesitate to seek help if you feel as though you need it, or if people around you feel as though you might be acting a little strange. But yeah guys, once again I just wanted to tell you guys to stay strong and keep fighting if you struggle with mental health disorders. You're never alone with what you suffer with. And I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'm just giving you a little bit of a rundown about how it was, and I'm going to give you some stories very soon, some funny ones, and probably some very entertaining ones as well. So stay tuned for some more great content. Thank you.